I think marketing and the whole social media thing is the comparison thing really challenges people. I've got to have this because my friends have it. First of all, they may make twice as much money as you. You ever notice that you lose contentment when you're around someone that has more, or like you love your house, or you go to the new model home, then you go back to your shack.
We were just talking about this the
It's
other
a
day.
shack all of a sudden, and we man, that is so hard.
Hey everybody, it is week 4 of the You Asked For It podcast. We are here answering questions that you had on this week, money, which we're very excited to talk about. I'm sitting here with just a wonderful panel of people, as always. We have Pastor Hal Mayer.
How you guys doing?
Pastor Daryl Black.
Hello.
And Pastor Craig Altman.
Hey guys, Bucks won this week.
They did win
did.
this week.
Anything's possible.
You know, one of the questions we got in was when the Saints beat the Bucks, are you going to say Houday on the? They got killed.
Oh, man.
Yeah, well, that's
They
Stephen
got
Christian.
annihilated.
He's a Saint fan. But
I just want to say we went 4 for 4 with something with the Bucks almost every single. Well, no, we missed a week. You weren't here, and
That's
true.
Yeah.
we did. Shame on
Okay.
us. Well, we're here to talk about money. Great message.
NFL has a lot of money,
They
by
do.
the way.
Yeah.
They should give something to the church.
Let's just start right there. The NFL should really. So really, we kind of look to you this week to say, hey, I know that this message is something that people, I mean, the questions on money and church are endless.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And so I know you came in saying, I've got so many things that I've heard over the weekend, so many things people have submitted. So I'm going to let you just jump right in with kind of maybe a recap of your message, right? And then right into some questions that you've gotten already.
Well, early on when I first started doing preaching on money, it was so hard and emotional and apologetic. And I realized, wait, it's part of the Bible. Why do we back off on this? So we can't. So even in this podcast, we're going to give you a biblical view of how we see money, how it's managed. But we can get some practical questions. Like I have one right now. I mean, I noticed, and this is a stat, the older generation has a bigger tendency to tithe than the younger generation. Did you know that? Like 40 and above people, the percentages are higher than a person. And I think because the old school is something you did, where now I think the younger generation is asking why and what's it for, and I don't want to support this guy's jet, or whatever. There's some bad perceptions, but how younger generation, I know you kind of did that for a while. What would you hear from them, and what are some of their challenges, and how do we address them to help them understand this?
Well, it is. One of the things is now with everything at our fingertips, they hear all the bad stories. And it's so easy to see all the people using all the money, the abuse of power, you see it happening throughout the entire thing. So it's going, well, I don't know. And I said, well, here's what I'll tell you. If you don't trust us enough with your money, you shouldn't be here.
Wow.
Because if you don't trust us enough with your money, why are you trusting us with your spiritual development? And so if that trust isn't there, then, and it's just that, it's a simple question because you haven't really thought through it. It's very easy to have a reason why you don't do something and just leave it there without actually thinking about it. And so you really have to get into, well, this is the reason why we do it. This is what it goes to. And then I do think even more than anything, your younger generation looks to give to many causes. And so like, oh, well, I love this cause and I love this cause.
Right.
And it really is a surprise, I think, to them when they understand, oh, wait, no, it's supposed to go to the church.
Right.
Because I'm helping people.
Right.
And they do. They want their money to go to something that matters. And so I think it's a little bit of where it wants to go. And then sometimes I do think the young people many times can be disinterested and misunderstanding how big the call of the church is, what the mission of the church is, and how important it is. So it's always coming back to that purpose of this is, Jesus said, it's the hope of the world. Literally, like that's what the church is. And so just that reminder there of helping them understand it. Because I do. It's not that they don't give.
Right.
It's where they give. It's very different.
And let me say one thing I didn't mention in the message, because you can't get all in 30 minutes about accountability. And we have a board of directors that approves the entire budget of the church. They approve your salary, my salary. So Grace Family has a local board of people who go to Grace Family Church who really approve our budget. So I just throw that out there that, that's how we're set up. But
we can cut this out if it's not true anymore. But we also have an accountant that goes over all of our stuff.
Outside CPA
audit
every year.
Every year.
I learned that Daryl has a jet and no one approves my salary, and that's
It's a
Go
small
ahead.
jet. It's a single engine. It's a single engine.
What are some of the questions or cynicism you hear, Daryl, and how do we address some of that?
Well, 2 questions. One, I was wondering, is it a generation thing or is it a generational thing when people decide, hey, I'm committed to paying my tithes? Because that's a question of, Because when you're younger, anything goes sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's when you reach a certain maturity that you go, okay, I need to be more consistent in this, and I see the value in that. And so that's a question that I pose. Like, is it really generation or is it generational?
Yeah. Is it being taught?
Well, that's what I was
Yeah.
going to say. I think if you like the way I was raised, my grandparents were very vocal about we tithe. Here's why we tithe. My dad tithed every single week, but he didn't talk about why he tithed. It wound up being a brush your teeth moment in church, right? I just do it because I was told to do it. And no one taught me until I came to Grace Family Church that, hey, this is a tithe. This is what it's for. This is why you do it.
The who, what, why, and where.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll say this. I think the way my parents and my dad will think this is funny. The way I understood tithing the most, and it kind of came off of this, was you know the dad tax?
Yeah.
Like whenever you get food.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's whenever we would get ice cream, there would always be a bite that came off of it.
Yeah.
And if we ever, I still remember my sister was the first one that complained. And he goes, well, would you rather have this or nothing? I'm like, well, I'd rather have that. And so it goes into like, look, everything you get is from God anyway.
Yeah.
Like that's from God. He's asking you to give 10% back, and he's promising to bless the other 90%. So it's not like you're giving something to God that wasn't already his. He already gave it to you. And so that idea of always like when my dad would buy me something, I'm like, well, it's his anyway. He bought it.
Yeah.
He's choosing to give it to me because he loves me.
Well, it's funny. That was the breakthrough point for me. See, both of you guys were raised in the church, so you heard about tithing. I mean, when I give my life to Christ, I'm reading about all these things. I'm having to subtract, like no sex till marriage. I'm like, what? And then God wants 10% of my money. I'm like, what's going on here?
Money and sex,
And
right?
my
That's
first thing when I heard this was, no, it's my money.
Right.
I earned it.
Yeah.
I'm working for it. I'm sweating for it. So the biggest breakthrough for me is when I understood it does all belong to God. All the silver and gold, all the cattle on 1,000 hill. When I got that into my mind, and it took a while to go from my mind to my heart, because until you believe God owns it, you can't be as generous as God wants you to be.
Right.
If you still think it's yours, you'll never be as generous. Because I always tell the story about the guy that I was playing golf with a friend of mine one day, and I gave him $20 to go buy us a Coke from the Coke girl, the cart girl. And I come back, he comes back, I said, "Where's my change?" He goes, "Oh, I just tipped her with it." I said, it's so easier to give something that doesn't belong to you, right? But isn't that true? When it doesn't belong to us, we don't hold on to it as tightly.
We don't.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, one of the questions that I get is that I've gotten is tithing really a New Testament commandment?
Right.
Because we see it all throughout the Old Testament. We see it even before it becomes a Mosaic law.
Yep.
So Abraham he tithes to Melchizedek. So
Before the law, yeah.
Before the law.
Yeah.
So it's a part of obedience. It's established long before the law even happens. And so I've had people go, well, is it really a New Testament law? Because then 2 Corinthians says, hey, give according to what you think you should give, what you think is generous. And so that's a question that's out there on that.
Yeah.
I'll let you answer that.
But, we talked about this in the green room, that if you really want to follow the law, you say, well, I'm not under the law, I'm under grace. Be careful when you say that.
Oh, yeah.
Because grace always exceeds the law. So if the law said 10%, then, grace, it's like in the Old Testament, sacrifice was a lamb, an animal. In the New Testament, the sacrifice was Jesus. So do you see the difference between the law and grace? Well, Jesus was much greater of a sacrifice than a lamb than New Testament Christians. I think if we're hung up on, I just think when our hearts are right before the Lord and we realize it's all His, I just use it as a baseline. You can call it what you want. 10% is a baseline. I go, okay. And then over and above that, I know that scares people, but I think that's just the baseline of giving.
But that's what Jesus did, though, is he brought everything, the level up when he came. And that's what it wasn't about the law anymore, it was about the heart. He goes, oh, no longer is it not just commit adultery. He says, don't even look with your eyes with lust in your heart. And so it goes beyond that, goes to the heart. And so it is true. Like what it means to give sacrificially is much more than that.
Yeah.
And we're not saying that going, you need to give right now in that way. Like it's God that changes your heart and allows you to do that. Yeah. But it's a part of it because Jesus mentions money and possessions more than he did heaven or hell.
Yeah.
So, and I think this is why it's such an emotional topic it's something that we hold on to. It's something that we gain status by. It's something that it's our security. Yeah. And so it's a lot of times it's the last thing, like they said, the last thing to get baptized.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 10% is just the beginning of generosity.
Yeah.
It's just a foundation, and it's a discipline and obedience principle.
It is.
Like, are you willing to practice in this giving? So it's something that you build on from there. And it was something I was taught that as a kid. Like, I was if I got a quarter, I had to tithe on that. Like, everything I got, I had to tithe on. And the principle was so stuck on me. I became a janitor at my church when I was a teenager, and they paid me $30 a week. And I love paying tithe. And one day, the lady who was over the money, she took the tithe out before she gave me my $30. And I was upset because I'm going to give it, but don't take it.
Yeah.
Like, this is my honor to God.
Yeah.
And even though she knew I was going to give it, but it's like, let me do it, because this is a part of my worship. It's a part of my praise that I love taking it out and going, yes, I'm giving it to you. So
That's good.
So what would you say to the people who you heard that and you said, hey, I'm going to do it as an act of worship. I'm going to do it with the right heart. I think we hear a lot in church like, hey, if you're going to give, make sure you're giving with the right heart, right?
Yeah.
What about those people out there who are like, hey, I give every week because the pastor told me to, but I do not like it, right? And it is very hard for me to do this. What would you say to someone who says, I'm giving, but I can't tell you that I'm giving with like a cheerful heart?
Well, can I be honest? I don't think there's that many people out there like that. I think people that start giving, they realize there's a joy in it. There really is something, and I'm not trying to be Pollyanna on this, but I really believe that the biggest struggle people face is not that. The struggle is money management.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I give God the first part, is there going to be anything left at the end of the week? And that is part of that by faith journey. That's why I always say, maybe some of you are so under the water that you can't even give 10, then start with 2%. Because I honestly believe this, and some pastors don't believe this. I think God honors any first step you take.
Yeah.
I mean, man, start small. If it's 2%, 3%. I've heard story after story over the years where they discipline themselves, and it's a discipline. I'm going to do this no matter what, and they begin to see God work in their finances. I think that's the biggest thing. It's either fear, I'm going to hold on to it, or it's faith, I'm going to trust God, because that's the journey. Can I trust God to meet my needs?
Yeah.
He promises to do that. Then there's another group, though. There's another group that has nothing to do with can I afford to. For whatever reasons, they make a lot of money, but they don't see the need. They go, well, I'm going to give to maybe 10 different organizations, or church doesn't really need this, and that's why I kind of in the message got into a little bit of what it really costs to do ministry.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you love Jesus, but you don't work for free.
Hey, no.
And neither do
couldn't.
you.
My wife wouldn't
You know,
let me.
everyone says they love our music. Well, but we don't have volunteer musicians, because I'm not saying you can't have that, but we like having excellence. So we pay for excellence, and you're on the receiving end of that. Children's ministry, where our children's ministry staff budget is larger than most churches, because we believe the value of having a paid teacher in every classroom. You know, we have a whole video team that produces ZTV, incredibly interactive with the kids. It's amazing material, but that costs money. And I think that, so for those who are going, I can afford to do it but don't, man, I pray for them, because it's so important that they understand the church is the hope of the world. We are the beachhead. We're going to be there 30 years from now, where maybe that evangelist isn't going to the hospital room to pray for you, or to, you know, and we're here. And that I'm passionate about that, that man, we're doing the best we can of stewarding every dollar that comes in, with the accountability we have, the CPA. But man, ask us the questions, because we can show you where it's all going. You know,
you can just watch the history of Grace Family Church and understand what's happening.
Yeah,
because it's been going now for going on 30 years.
30 years,
and you don't see the giving go up, and then all of a sudden, Pastor Craig is driving a Bentley. Like it's the giving goes up. Oh, we're going to start another campus, or we're gonna, and you don't see the monuments. You don't see the like. Look, I think we have very nice buildings, but we don't have what I've seen. And we're not looking to do that. We're not looking to create these lavish things. We're looking to create places where people get to meet God. And so, and that is just the number of staff that we have. Like it's we're trying to reach the next generation. We're trying to reach people, and that's what happens when you give. Man, it gives us that opportunity to do so much more.
People were shocked when I started going through some of the numbers, like how many people attend, 175 full-time staff, 300 part-time staff, all that we do to try to do ministry. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I would say from being here for years now and seeing the inner workings of it, I think so many people can stand up on the stage and say like, hey, like, you know, trust us. We're great with your money. Here's where we're using it. I will tell anybody out there who has any question who attends Grace Family Church, we are incredibly transparent with finances, how we use it, and that's one of those things that. And you for years have been preaching this. I know going back to your hey, start somewhere. That's how I got started in tithing. Is because I was like, hey, I don't know, like I was making no money at all, and I was like, I don't know if I can do like 10%, but starting anywhere at 2%, at you know whatever it is, $10, like whatever it looks like for you, I think is a great stepping stone into okay. Well, now you'll find yourself exceeding 10%, going even further, and not because the church is begging for you to give your 15, 20%, but because you'll start to look around and go, hey, like this is what my money is doing. To your point about Zone TV, the kids ministry things, people can ask, well, what's it going to? All this furniture in the lobby? And it's like, no, like go walk around, take a look into these classrooms, like crayons and videos and, you know, all of these things. Like it is funded by you, right? Like by your dollar. And just want to say, man, I know that it feels weird to cheerlead on our own podcast, but you have done a fantastic job in the 30 years of Grace of being very transparent with how we use people's money and being very responsible with it. So just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
So,
And then there's to go back on the question you said earlier, just saying for the person that says, I'm giving and I don't feel like it. So two ways I want to respond to that. One, I think there's a lot of people that grew up in the cynicism of watching TV preachers steal money or take money or use it. Like, hey, if you send in $1,000, I'll give you a prophecy.
Yeah.
Like we've watched that happen in real time. I've gone to those churches. I went to a church one where a guy was like, hey, you give me $100 and then I'll give you a prayer that God is going to answer.
oh yeah.
Wow.
And then the more money you give, the better the prayer is. Like,
Which when you break that down, how awful is that? You have that ability and you're like, give me some money.
Yeah.
it's like it's a horrible,
Just like Jesus, right?
And we've seen a lot of that, and sometimes we've made that very small percentage the whole, and people look there and say all preachers they just want your money. All those they just want your money.
Right.
Well, no, we don't. That's not how we all are. And evangelism is free, but ministry costs money.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that we're so transparent that we actually, hey, here's the list of the things that we do.
Yeah.
Even at the end of on the Lutz campus, I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but Pastor Ralph came up and said, hey, we had 450 kids and children in our zone. We had these many people this. We've had, 500 people in our couples. We had, so we need to have, that's more toilet flushes. That's more lights coming on. That's more of using our facilities.
Wear and tear,
And we use, and you mentioned this, we use our church as a multi-purpose. So it's not just, hey, we use it only on Sunday. We use it only Saturday. No, it's almost 6 days out of the week. There's something happening on our campuses, and people get to support that. And that's a wonderful thing to be a part of it. And I think the other response I would give, I think sometimes people will start with going, I don't know how this is going to work out.
Yeah.
I don't know, especially when you didn't grow up in it or you haven't been taught well. Go out and you can go a weekend, 2 weeks in, a month in, and go, I don't know if I see the benefit of this.
Yeah.
But if your heart is right and you're going, man, I just really want to be closer to God. I want to follow God. My spiritual development. You say, I'm just going to keep on doing it until I see something. Because even when I was a kid and you're tithing, I don't know why I'm tithing. Right. My daddy told me it's in the Bible, so I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
But I would have to say I've probably been tithing consistently since I was 5 or 6 years old, and I've never gone without.
Amen.
Right.
That's a good word.
I've never gone without. God has always, even in the times where I've been financially irresponsible, God still opened a door or window. I don't suggest that for anybody, but even being able to tithe well helped me be financially responsible, knowing that I'm putting these things where they need to be.
I was going to say that's a little bit of my story too, of going, if you're out there and you're saying, well, I can't do it because I can't make it work. For me personally, on a practical side, tithing made me look at a budget and go, hey, because if you talk to most people out there, they'll say like, oh, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, or how much savings do you have? Oh, I have nothing. If you take time and go, okay, well, you say, I can't do this, right? I cannot make this work. You'll find that if you sit down and you look at your finances, not only can you make it work, the practical side of it is you'll go, oh, wow, I didn't realize I was doing this here and this here and this here. And for me, it changed my life budget-wise, going through Dave Ramsey, right, doing the Financial Peace University. I know we have Financial Freedom here now.
Starting October 9th.
Yes, like sign up.
Right? 5
like,
weeks.
Directly into
Help
whatever
you with a budget.
camera. Like sign up for it because it will change your life in more ways than one, right?
And if you're married, go together.
Oh my gosh.
No doubt.
You have to go together.
Yeah, you got to. You know, you said something really key. To me, tithing teaches you self-control and contentment. You know, because when you start tithing, you realize, man, I want to honor God first. So what is all the fluff? And I'm not saying everybody has fluff in their budget. I know some people, literally, it's difficult.
But the things that, every day.
It's true though, you know. But really to go, I want to honor God. I'm going to make sure that it's first. It teaches you self-control and contentment. Because Debbie and I, you know, I've shared this story. I remember we first married, 2 old cars. We needed a car. I was so tempted to say, you know what? We're just going to go buy this car. But that car payment was the exact amount of my tithe every month. And I was tempted. But I said, wait, am I going to trust God? Or am I going to shortcut God and meet my own need? And that's the challenge you face on the journey of tithing.
I think too, just as encouragement to people out there, if anyone's like, "Oh, you guys make it sound so easy," and yet, I think when you talk about your dad and bringing you up and saying, "Hey, he taught me this, and this was important." For me, it was difficult, right? And I'm not going to lie and say that it's not still difficult sometimes. I grew up in a house where I watched a mother who, when she got money, she spent it like on herself, what she wanted. And when you grow up in that environment, it's hard to reverse engineer your mind to say like, no, I need to save. I need to give. So if you're out there going, I've never seen this modeled. Well, there's plenty of people, including me, who never saw it modeled. But take the step, try it, do it, because the benefits are just, they far outweigh the cons. I mean, the con is I'm short. Right. You know, like I can't buy that thing that I wanted really to buy that I need. And so the benefits list is so much longer.
Money management, to me, it's not an income problem. It's a money management issue.
Absolutely.
No matter what you make, I really believe you can get to a place that God wants you to be at. But it's a money management. All the people I talk to, it's learning to manage what we have, you know, and that's so critical.
Yeah, it's one of those things too. Like we're dealing with young adults. I'll just say this: if you're a young adult, you're getting married, I highly recommend you go through Financial Freedom together. It's one of the first things I tell people to go through because it's one of the highest reasons of divorce.
No doubt.
And you don't really understand each other's spending habits until you get married. It's like one of those fun little gifts to open up. You know, and so it's like, oh, this is fun. This is what you think is important. And it's always one person thinks this is important, the other one thinks that's dumb. And you got to figure it out. But it like what's fun, even with my wife, is like even figuring out how to help her understand. Like lining it out did not help her. Pie graph, boom, she got it right away. She's like, I get that. Like I get it. Like I know what we're doing now. I get what's happening. But if you're not on the same page, then my goodness, the anger that comes out of it and the fights and all of those things. And that's why we offer it is one, it's to help you follow after God. But two, we understand, man, you get your money in order, it changes your life. It changes your stress level and all those things.
Oh, Greg, what's the weirdest thing that you were buying that you cut out?
You know, it's funny. I wasn't a big spender. For me, I just felt like I earned it, man. I struggle with this is mine. I mean, mine was the mine thing. I mean, I just, you know, I'm not a big spender. I really am not. I'm not a car person, a jewelry person, those kind of things. I would say, if anything, I'd splurge maybe on golf or something, you know, that kind of thing. But mine was more of that, honestly. You know, now I know other people would. No, I would say mine would be TV. I mean, I could go for the big screen. If there's you know, I'm never satisfied. I want to go bigger, better, shinier, newer, and that where I can go crazy in my flesh on. You know?
I still remember the first fight. One of the first fights Chrissy and I had was we had gotten all these Bed Bath & Beyond things. And she was like, well, we have them. We should spend them. And I came home, and I kid you not, we had so many pillows on our bed that there was only this much space left. And I'm just sitting here going, why? What's the point? We have to take them off when we go to bed anyway. And now I have the extra job, and we had to have the conversation. She goes, well, we had it. And I'm like, okay, that's not that's not the reason. But we've definitely had to kind of go back and forth on certain things of like, this is important, but then also, you know, this is the money we have to spend on these things that we want to. And then you have kids, and then it throws everything in for a loop.
Yeah.
That was us, man. We had our first child last year, and it became one of those moments where we had to look at it all again.
Yeah.
And back talking about things we struggle with in the early days of learning to tithe, I would reverse budget. So I would just take all of my money, all of it, and start putting it in categories. And I put tithing like way down here at the bottom, right? And so, you know, by that time it's been filled up with like, eating out or video games or subscriptions or whatever else. And so I think it's important. We say it a lot in church, but it really is practical when you're doing a budget. Just go ahead and take it off the top, right? Make it the first thing, because you will find ways to spread it out and go, well, I mean, my grocery bill, I can't not buy organic flaky buttermilk biscuits from Miss Ann's. You know, I can't, you know, but it's like, but you can, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that,
Well, that's why the Bible says do it first. It's the first fruit. It's the first lamb. It's the first $10. Because if you don't do it first, my flesh is too weak.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It will be spent, you know,
Absolutely.
on something else.
And it's a discipleship thing, because it helps us understand what's most important, because society is trying to get us to spend all of our money.
Yeah.
Like, we've got to understand that, like in everything. And even when you have a kid, man, they prey on all of your insecurities about having a kid. And, you know, they have the things now that has the kid's heartbeat on it, and you can buy everything for the first 2 months, and then you realize you don't need it after that.
Yeah.
And then but they're like, you can have this and it'll become easier. And so it's so easy now for every stage of life for them to go, if you don't have this, you're missing out on life. Yeah. And so it's so simple to fall into it. And
I think marketing and the whole social media thing, is the comparison thing really
Yeah.
challenges people. I've got to have this because my friends have it. First of all, they may make twice as much money as you. You ever notice that you lose contentment when you're around someone that has more, or like you love your house, or you go to the new model home, then you go back to your
we were
shack.
just talking about this the
It's
other
a
day.
shack all of a sudden, and we man, that is so hard.
Well, you go to the box seats for the first time, you're like, wow,
Like, I can
look at the
never-
peasants below me.
never
And they're
sit
like, that
down
was
in
me
the
for the
regular seats
longest
again.
time.
Yeah.
right? How did I even do this? I can't
Yeah.
even see the game.
Yeah,
from
someone
down
was
there.
nice enough to give you that, and then all of a sudden it changes.
Let me ask you all a question, and I know we're getting close to closing. So how do we learn contentment? Paul says we should be content. We have a lot or a little. What is your secrets to contentment? I mean, it's hard on all of us because the flesh always wants more. Daryl, what would you say for
I mean,
you?
it's a good question. I'm actually walking my youngest daughter through this right now, because she struggles with some anxiety, and so every day I send her scriptures about being thankful, being grateful, and so I think contentment starts there, because comparison breeds that incontentment. It's like, I don't have that. I want that. And I'm just like, hey, just look around at what you have.
That's
Let's
good.
just think about this for a moment. That you're in a home, you've got your own bedroom. Like I didn't have my own bedroom until I moved out of my house. Yeah. So it's like you've got your own bedroom, you got a phone, you have access to things, and you can do all these things. And I know there's a sense of entitlement because you've always been blessed. But just sit back for a moment and think about all the people that don't have what you have.
Yeah.
Right.
And the things that you're able and capable of doing. You can get up at any time and go to the refrigerator and open it, and there's food.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so much food, it's hard to close the refrigerator and the cabinets. So just be grateful. What do you
And she immediately said, "You're right, Dad."
She was like, yes.
But adults have the same issue.
It's a practice.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
practice, because we're good at practicing negativity.
Yes.
So you've got to practice gratitude and being thankful 10 times more. And so
That's
one of the
good.
practices we do in the car, my wife and daughter have been doing, because she takes her to school, is, hey, what are 3 things that you're grateful for today?
Yeah.
So let's just get into that.
That could be good for
practice.
adults to do that.
Well, for sure.
What's interesting is gratitude is a spiritual practice.
Yeah.
But now I've seen this a lot lately. The secular world is taking spiritual practices and putting them, like, there's gratitude journals out there.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not Christian. They're just because they found that there's all kinds of benefits they found to being grateful. Yeah. Like, it lowers your blood pressure. It does so many things. And I think it's the key to contentment is me really sitting down and going, you know what? this is really good. Like I'm blessed with this. This could be in a very different place. What I have, my kids, my wife, my situation, like God has blessed me with this.
It's good.
From a very practical standpoint, and I would suggest try this. Please try this. So for us, as you grow and as you get older and as you maybe change jobs or get a raise, whatever that looks like, so many times what we think we need grows and grows and grows. And so what my wife and I have done is every 6 months or so, we just stop and go like, hey, let's see what it's like to live without this, right? And go, hey, we cut all our subscription services down to one and go, can we just live with this one? And we only bring things back that we go, okay, that brought value to our lives. For
great
me,
practice.
this is very practical. For me, I was paying $100 a month for a cell phone bill. This is not a commercial, but I wound up looking up one of these carriers like Mint Mobile that I could pay $200 for the entire year and I only had 5 gigs of data. But guess what? I learned to go, okay, well, I'm going to use Wi-Fi everywhere I go.
Wow.
And it saved me a ton of money. And more than just the tithing conversation we're having, it's the peace of mind that you have of going, hey, I am learning to live without. And if I need to bring these things back,
It's really good.
I can.
Yeah.
But it's a regular practice of every 6 months going, hey, I've been, maybe if it's out there for you, I've got neighbors. I'm paying a guy to cut my grass, right? I'm not. I cut my own grass. But my neighbors are, and they go, oh, why don't you do it? And I'm like, because like the financial freedom that I have in my mind of going, it takes me an hour of sweat to go out there and cut my grass, and it saves me $100 a month. Like, yeah, I'm good, right? And so just practicing that, looking at your life and saying, what is actually necessary, and what are things that I've just grown to think I need to survive?
You just brought up my last point. If you can figure out that level of contentment at a younger age, the good news about that is if you can learn contentment at this level, and no matter how much you make, you're going to stay at a certain level of contentment, then you start creating what I call that margin in your life. All of a sudden, if you're 25 and you figure it out, when you're 55, you're going to have some serious margin at high earning time of your life to be a blessing and to be blessed yourself. There's nothing wrong with having nice things, a nice home. But when they own you and you can't do the basics of tithing, that's a problem. So finding that contentment level, stripping, I love that inventory of what you're talking about. What can we live with? What can we live without? And we're not saying you got to live like a pauper, but you got to live according to your income. My dad said you have champagne taste in a beer wallet.
Yeah.
I mean, Walmart still sells flip phones with $10 plans that you can text on a keypad.
I love
right?
Walmart.
Isn't it great?
But I don't want anyone to talk to me, so that's why I love Walmart. Poor customer service works for me.
But
Flip
no,
phones.
but I just go. I think yes, we can't ignore the fact that there are people out there who have very real struggles, and right now they may be listening and going like, "Hey, that's not me," and like we understand that.
Yeah.
But we know that we live in America, and there are plenty of people who go, "Well, I can't because I need," and it's like, man, really take assessment of what you feel like you need, and then because once you have tasted financial freedom, there's nothing like it. And to your point, it doesn't matter how much money you're making.
Start somewhere.
It doesn't matter. Whatever pay scale you're at, what that financial freedom is for you to go, oh man, I can breathe easy and I'm not having to like, oh my goodness, like, paycheck to paycheck freaking out all the time. So it just tastes so good.
It does.
I get made fun of for my truck. So I drive an 03 Ford Ranger. And it still runs. Air conditioner works. If the air conditioner worked, it went out. And I've expected it to die for many years now. But I keep driving it. And it's funny. The guys will, oh, come on, Hal. You don't understand how fun it is, how good it is to have a new car. I'm like, you don't understand how amazing it is not to have a car payment for 19 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like,
good.
I don't have a car payment.
on.
Like, I'm not paying. They're like, I was like, that $300 to $400, or some of you even more than that you're paying a car payment. I don't have that. Yeah, my car's not as nice, but who cares? It gets me from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And it allows me the freedom to do other things.
Yeah.
And
We need to close this out. One last word of encouragement, just one line for everybody. What would you say to some people that hearing this message will encourage them, Daryl?
I would say no matter what level, and we've said it already, no matter what level you're on, whether you're the person that says, man, I feel like I'm struggling and this is a new concept, or you're the person that says, man, I've got plenty of money and income and I'm still struggling. Be grateful.
Right.
Honor God with what you have. If you can honor God with what you have, it will change your whole world, no matter where you sit. And and God wants to bless you. Amen. He's blessing you so that you can bless somebody else.
Right.
How?
I would say this. I know with people looking at budgets, one of the biggest fears is to actually look.
Yeah.
because we're afraid of what we're going to see.
It's like getting on a scale.
It is. It's not fun. And so do it though, because if you don't do that, you're never going to gain the freedom. I know it's hard to look at it. It's hard to pay attention to it. And you're like, man, if I just don't look, then maybe it doesn't there's not a problem. Spend the time, take the time, make the budget. It's the best first step that you'll make.
I would say go to Financial Freedom. Everything we're talking about and more will be there. It'll be an encouragement to you, and you won't be disappointed. We love you guys. We pray, God, for every person that's hearing this podcast. God, give them hope in their situation with finances, Lord. Help them to be a people that would step out in faith and trust you. Help us, God, not live in fear anymore, to know that you're an amazing provider. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Guys, thank you so much. 4 weeks, awesome conversation, topics that were not easy to cover. But I got to tell you, you did a fantastic job. I mean, not that you need my approval, but I mean, I think you guys, everyone else has commented you guys did a fantastic job.
So are we asking the question if we should keep doing it?
Well, I will say this. I don't think you'll see it.
run.
Okay, he's got to go. That's
we
the
ended
answer.
there.
Listen, it's a podcast. We can do whatever we need to. You get out. You get out of here. So, I think the answer is I don't know if you'll see it.
He just disappeared. You're going to do a cut.
No.
You're going to cut where he's just gone.
It's the amen, and then
Oh, just so you're aware, I'm leaving all of this in there because we're authentic, and this is what we do. And that's Isaac behind the camera, everybody. So yeah, I think if you're looking to see one next week, probably not. But I would keep an eye out in the coming weeks because I've enjoyed this.
I've enjoyed it. Yeah,
I think we've
So
gotten,
basically, we're blaming this on Craig because he's not here.
Yeah,
for sure.
he's got nothing to say.
Yeah, nothing to say. Now that he's gone, we can go for the 45 to 50 minutes we talked about. I'm just kidding. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in each and every week to the You Asked For It podcast. It's been awesome. Thanks for your comments, for your questions. Be on the lookout for a continuing podcast that may look a little bit different. But thanks again, guys, for being here. And we will see you guys when we see you.